Adam, what's up, buddy?
There you go. Good to see you again. What's happening, man?
I got to tell you, I'm a little intimidated. I'm following
Why?
Sturge the weatherman. I've never followed a weatherman on a podcast before. I'm not quite sure. I live
Well,
in Cleveland, and it's always
Sonny.
overcast. Whenever I leave here on a plane, it's always fantastic. Within about 3 minutes, I will see the sun again. And then you're talking about my football team's arch nemesis, but for a fantastic cause. Make sure to donate so Jerome Bettis can do his thing. Former Pittsburgh Steeler. I live in
Yeah.
Cleveland.
So
I,
Pittsburgh is your is your
yes,
is your enemy. Yeah, no, I
we just we
I, I
just
get
we
it
just
too.
got throttled this weekend, and that's okay. But we're not here to talk about
I
professional sports.
I mean,
But
we could talk about professional podcasting. So John and I had the pleasure to connect in Chicago at Sherm. Had him on the show. We were recording from our booth over at Fountain. That was a lot of fun. That was a massive conference. I mean, that was a big. I think there was 2,000 exhibitors there. That was crazy.
yeah, Sherm annual, 25,000 people. Yeah, 2,000 vendors, a bunch of podcasters. Nobody quite like you though, Paz. You were killing it.
I,
Did
I
an awesome
really
job.
I appreciate that. And so let's do a quick introduction for folks that may not know you. Tell everyone who you are, what you do best, and what's going on with that painting behind you.
Yeah, for sure. I'll start with the painting. My mom was an acclaimed watercolor artist, and I used to have a bunch of stuff behind my background pre-COVID, and then COVID happened, and I thought to myself, if that's going to be part of my brand, I got to change it. My brother owns an architectural sign and design company, so
Oh,
he
cool.
took one of my mom's paintings and turned it into a mural, and it's
Oh, cool.
very, very meaningful to me. I love my parents, miss both of them dearly, having lost them almost 4 and 5 years ago. That being said, I am their son. I'm the youngest of four kids in my family. I'm married for 27 years, coming up here shortly. I've got two kids, a
There you
Will
go.
and a Mallory, 17 and 14 years old.
God
Started
bless.
my career in the HR outsourcing space, working for ADP, and now I own a boutique professional services firm that specializes in staffing, specifically for HR, payroll, and HR technology. And then we have a unique HR tech practice where we do selection, implementation, and optimization. And last but not least, I wrote a book called HR Like a Boss, which was Sherm's first ever number one new release on
Boom.
Amazon and has been really taking off and taking me places I never thought I
Love
could.
it.
And we're helping clients transform their business through the power of human resources.
So let's first of all, I'm glad I asked that open-ended question. I mean, you hit that one out of the park. I always say it's a pod. We're going to talk podcast shop in a little bit here. You got to be careful with the open-ended questions. And I mean, I set you up for that one because people needed the introduction, but you need to keep questions kind of structured and not let people just go off the leash there. So, two questions for you. First, when's my episode coming out on your show? I think it's coming out the 12th. Is that true?
Literally in 2 days. So check
In
that
two
out.
days.
We'll drop that on LinkedIn for everybody to see, and then it'll be on all your podcasting platforms. And it was
Yes.
fantastic. We flipped the script and
We
made him
flipped it.
answer all the tough questions. So and he didn't choke at all. He's a high performer, and he did a great job. It was awesome, and I
I,
really
I,
had
I
a fun time.
appreciate that. I mean today I'm slag. It's hard as a podcaster. The garbage truck woke me up this morning at about 5:30 a.m., which is about an hour and a half normally earlier than I normally get up. And you know how it is when you can't fall back asleep. So I'm not at 100% today. I'm at like 82%. I'm still trying to give it my all. I'm still trying to deliver here. And that's the thing as a podcast host, you need to have consistency. The audience's experience is what matters. Tell us why it matters to listen to your podcast. Aside from the fact that I'm on it and I'm awesome and amazing and I say good, cool things, that means stuff.
Yes. Yeah, we have great guests. If we can get Adam Posner on the show, that gives you kind of an idea. But I will tell you one thing,
Lower
Adam,
the standards.
and you mentioned it already. I think I tell all guests when they join the show, and we do before we turn the red light on and record. A one-word answer is as bad as a thousand-word answer. And every once in a while, I have to put my hand raised and say, "Hey, we're getting a little long-winded on your question," because I think you got to be concise and direct and get to the point. Because otherwise, you lose people. They are like, "Oh my gosh, this
No, it's a
guest is
ramble.
droning on," whatever the case is. But then, last but not least, the most important thing that I learned, have 150 some episodes, listening back to my own, checking out all kinds of other podcasts, is that the podcast has nothing to do with me. It's all about the guest and their story and their journey. And here's what I'd say. You said you were 82% of yourself today. That's you being totally authentic and you
Mhm.
being real and not some robot that's following a script and
Just
doing a bunch
reading
of,
questions. No way.
yeah, so
Well,
lame, so boring, so not Adam Posner. So I totally get it.
Well, I'm gonna give you some Adam Posner advice here for this one because people confuse it. It's a podcast, but it's pronounced Posner. People
I'm an idiot.
no,
Try
you're
to
not an
pronounce
idiot.
my last name. How's that? Wanna
I
take a
don't. I just
stab?
call you John. I just call you John.
Okay, good.
It's a pro tip right there. If people want to know your last name, they can see it in the comments. I don't need to repeat it. But here's a lesson that I learned early on. I've recorded almost with live shows almost 500 episodes, and early on in my experience in early 2019 when I started, a very trusted source friend. She works in media. She goes, Adam, I could hear you thinking about the next question you're going to ask the guest. And you're talking a lot more than the guests. I kind of have a rough 70-30 kind of rule that I like I tried to follow. I hate when I go on a podcast and the guest just goes on their soapbox. Now, with that being said, I have my times that I rant and it's my show, so I have the platform for that, but I use it as a very precise weapon. I don't use it every episode, and I'm very careful with that. How often do you go on rants on your show?
Every once in a while, especially when there are things that I'm passionate about, like purpose
Mhm.
and supporting human resource professionals. But I do give the caveat at the beginning of it usually, hey, just so you know, guest, I'm going to go on a rant here, or I apologize at the end of it, just because I, same piece of advice I got, or slightly different, Adam, is that it's not about me. And although it's my name on the book, and I wrote and conceptualized the idea of HR like a boss, so be it. It's about showcasing the
Mm,
guest, giving them a chance to tell the story. And I will tell you, when you do this 150 times, you get some exceptional guests like you. And then every once in a while, you get a stinker. I mean, one story I have, I won't
well,
disclose who the person is, but I could actually hear the piece of paper that their notes were on rattling because they were so nervous just answering simple questions. And this was an executive, an HR leader,
it happens.
and I had to pause them and say, "Hey, we got to redo this. Please put the paper down and let's just you and me have a conversation about what's going on in your world, how you view the world of human resources." And it got a lot better, but the guest really makes the show, quite
Well,
frankly.
it does, but I've been I'm a student of podcasting, and something that kind of stuck with me recently is while I believe that too. Like my show is a canvas, the guests are my art, I shine a light on them. But my audience is really coming back for me. They're coming back for the host, right? They're coming because they're not coming back to the same guest every week, right? You have to kind of think about that as well. Now, the other thing that I do, I take a lot of pride and I do my due diligence to preview a potential guest past media, podcast, audio, video to see if I have that energy. And I try to not book guests who aren't going to deliver because at the end of the day, your audience's auditory and visual experience is what matters. So, as best as possible, try to screen the guests beforehand. So, John, we got to keep the show moving, but I want everyone out there to check out HR Like a Boss. Where could they find you? Where could they connect? Where could they learn more?
Yeah, simplest way is hrlikeaboss.com. That's hrlikeaboss.com. You can also follow me on LinkedIn, do a lot of posting and sharing stories and experiences. You can buy the book through Amazon or get a discount if you're a SHRM certified professional at the SHRM store. And you can email me, john@willery.com. I would give you out my phone and my home address,
It's a
but I
bad
think it's a
idea.
little creepy, probably a little too much
Yeah,
for.
Lynn Bailey's going to hijack that and she's going to steal all your Christmas decorations. So, John, I appreciate you. I'll see you out there at one of these hotspot TA conferences. Everyone, check out HR Like the Boss. Check out his book on Charm. John, thank you for joining us. And it's time for, you might want to hang around for this because this is my favorite segment. It's time for